What is up, everyone? Brandon First, aka First Report. It is Tuesday, October 27th, 2020. It is time to change things up here on the Changeup with my co-host. We're talking World Series baseball and a couple other things, but mainly focusing here on the World Series with my co-host, Bryanna Winner. How are you doing today, Miss Winner?
I'm doing good. I'm ready for Game 6 to start.
You know, I'm going to have a kind of a weird take here. I'm a weird guy. I'm sure most people know that even just by listening to the podcast, but I am actually not going to watch tonight's game. And let me tell you why. I love baseball. I hope that this is not the last baseball game. I hope that Sunday night's game was not the last baseball game I watched, but I hate the Dodgers so much. I couldn't live with myself if I knowingly watched a game in which the Dodgers ended up winning the World Series. Even if I don't see the final out, even if I only see the first pitch, it will always stick with me. So I've told myself, I'm like, you know what? It's going to be a Netflix. I'll watch Netflix, maybe read a book. Maybe, Google search probably every 20 minutes, check my MLB app to just check the score. But I really am hoping that we get to Game 7. And obviously, look, I have to watch Game 7, but I don't know. I'm a very, very oddball, and I hate the Dodgers so much. I couldn't live with myself if they won the World Series and I saw any part of it. But I do really agree with you there. I hope that the Rays get the job done. And I think all baseball fans, unless you're a Dodger fan, well, look, if you're a baseball fan and not a Dodger fan, you're probably cheering for the Rays unless you bet on the Dodgers. But you want more baseball. Everybody wants a Game 7. I think that's pretty much, last year, I was going to say back to the Cleveland-Chicago World Series, but no, last year was a Game 7 as well, in which the Astros, of course, lost and choked out that one. Sorry, National fans. I'm not going to give you credit. I am going to pile on the
Well, to be fair, the Nationals didn't do well until after the All-Star break, which nobody got this year anyway. If there was an All-Star break, they probably would have hit their stride. But
yeah, and
sorry,
I think there are a couple teams that could be like that as well. Look, I hate the Astros, but I don't think the Astros would have finished 162 game season at 79 and 83. They probably would have been, 87 and 75 around there. And I think the honestly, you could make a case, and Bryanna will be right there with you, that the Angels, a longer season, the Angels probably would have been an over 500 team. It would have been a dogfight for that second playoff spot.
If they didn't play the Dodgers at the end of the season, they would have been fine.
And I could also, and I know you'll agree with me, who knows, maybe you don't trade Tommy La Stella and maybe he gives you a couple wins post-trade deadline. Yeah, that was probably a little too close to home, but
that was a stupid trade. I'm sorry, that was stupid.
It really was. And trading La Stella for, honestly, a guy that's the same, and I know La Stella made more money, but I don't think Artie Moreno's wobbling over $3 million.
I mean, if you were going to trade La Stella, get a freaking pitcher.
Exactly. Not the same exact type of player.
Get a pitcher. You need it. Mm-hmm. You need pitchers. But going off even like with tomorrow's game, or if there is a tomorrow, I'm pretty sure a lot of people also want to see the Rays get their first World Series like rings in general. And this is only the second one they've gone to in their history. So I think it would be special for obviously the Rays to get their first. But either way, whoever wins this one of these two cities is going to have their second championship win in the last month.
Yep.
So, either way, both of these cities have bragging rights right now for whoever wins.
I truly, truly hope that it's Tampa Bay that gets the bragging rights, because that's the absolute last thing Los Angeles needs is bragging rights in anything. But if you do want to follow both of us on Twitter and all of our social media, make sure you do head there. Myself is at Ferst Report, FERST REPORT, and Bryanna is at BWinner12. Head to the YouTube and check out the Ramblin Gamblin Sports Network. We have all our channels there, and of course the Ferst Report YouTube channel as well. And you can follow the Ramblin Gamblin and all of the stuff they are dropping at and Gamblin on Twitter and all your social media ventures. before we do get into the World Series, and mainly, I think what we're mainly going to focus on is the absolute craziness of Game 4.
I've got a lot to say about Game 4.
Oh boy, I have
that last play. I got a lot to say. Being a catcher, I've got a lot to say.
Perfect. We have before we do that, there was some other news that, look, if your team isn't in the World Series, hey, something for you to look at and something else to think about. It was, of course, the All-MLB teams, the all-star teams, if you will. Essentially, it's Baseball America, and some interesting names. I'll just run through. You have pretty much, all your position players and a DH. We have at the catcher position, Travis d'Arnaud from the Braves. And trust me, the Braves are going to be a mainstay. We also had Freddie Freeman, also of the Braves. DJ LeMahieu of another team that's going to be a mainstay, the Yankees. At third base, Jose Ramirez. Shortstop is El Nino, Fernando Tatis. Padres get some players as well. And then we have at one of the three outfield spots, the only Dodger to make it on the first team. It was Mookie Betts. You also had Juan Soto, who won the batting title in the National League. And of course, some guy named Mike Trout, who, considering we haven't seen him in a month and Mookie Betts has done what he does, I kind of feel bad. I feel like a lot of people are getting on the Mookie Betts being the best player in baseball till April, and then we all get to see Mike Trout again and realize, okay, Trout's just a little bit better. And the DH is Jose Abreu. The pitching staff, you have 5 starters and a reliever. The starters, Trevor Bauer of the Cincinnati Reds, Shane Bieber of the Cleveland Indians, Yu Darvish, Brianna's favorite, of the Chicago Cubs, Jacob deGrom of the New York Mets, Dinelson Lamet of the Padres, and the one reliever, very interesting here, is Devin Williams. Devin Williams had a great year. He had an ERA of 0.33 in 27 innings. He had 53 strikeouts in 27 innings. That is essentially a 2 strikeout per inning. And what's crazy to me is usually when you see these lists put together, you have the 5 starters and essentially the best closer, not necessarily the best reliever. It's all about the saves, right? Well, Devin Williams wasn't even the closer of the Brewers. He was the setup man for Hader. Devin Williams didn't have a single save this year, still makes the first team for relievers. And I'm just going to run through the second team and we'll discuss the second team, starting with the catchers. We have JT Realmuto of the Philadelphia Phillies. First base is Luke Voit of the New York Yankees. Brandon Lau at second base of the Tampa Bay Rays. Third base is Manny Machado of course, San Diego Padres. Trey Turner, the Washington Nationals, brings home the second team shortstop spot. And the 3 outfield positions are Marcell Ozuna of the Braves, Dominic Smith of the New York Mets, and one of my favorite players, in all honesty, Mike Yastrzemski of the San Francisco Giants. And of course, the DH is the ageless wonder himself, Nelson Cruz. And then a lot of usual suspects, I would think, here on the pitchers staff. Maybe not so much with Corbin Burns, but he makes it on the second team for the starters. Then, of course, the big guys of Garrett Cole, Dallas Keuchel, Kenta Maeda, and Hyun-Jin Ryu. Cole, of course, of the Yankees, Keuchel of the White Sox, Maeda of the Twins, Ryu of the Blue Jays, and Liam Hendricks is the second team reliever for the pitchers, of course, of the Oakland Athletics. Bryanna, out of all of these, all MLB players essentially are, like you said, are all-star teams that we never had. And I know it's kind of weird because it's difference here and there, blah, 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 but you understand what I'm saying. Both leagues are intertwined. But anyways, what are your thoughts on the first and second teams for Major League Baseball?
So starting with the first team, obviously all the starting pitchers deserve to be there. I mean, here you Darvish, mid-30s, pitching the way that he's pitching. I mean, come on. He deserves to be there. And I may be a little biased because I'm a Cubs fan, but I mean, you can't deny it, even if you're not a Cubs fan, that he did really well this season. He even pitched on his birthday, and I believe he had a no-hitter going until like the 8th inning, I believe. I mean, he was doing well on that day. Mike Trout, obvious. He is one of the best players in baseball. Again, biased. I mean, Mookie Betts, the only Dodger to be on either team, is kind of a shock because obviously you see the Dodgers being like the dominant team that they are. And I think there's going to be more players to come in the next few years on this list. But I think because of how short the season are, you got to take into account who's been the most consistent, who's the one that's actually helped the teams the most. And obviously Mookie Betts has done that. I mean, DJ LeMahieu going from the Rockies to the Yankees was probably one of the best decisions he made. Because look, Nolan Arenado, yeah, he's still there, but he's not going to be the only person to help the Rockies win. I mean, we saw how well they started and how badly they started to crumble this season. Obviously, elevation and you're only playing the same teams over and over again kind of would contribute to it. And then going down to the second team, let me get back to it. I mean, there's not much I can say. I'm just surprised that Giolito isn't on here. Obviously, he's had a high ERA, but he was one of only, I believe, 2 pitchers to throw a no-hitter. Yep. Something that should have probably been taken into account. Nobody else was able to do it this year, especially considering how little rest these pitchers had, especially those bullpens. I'm sorry, those bullpens got overworked this year. I hope they have a great offseason to where they can just do what they want and rest their arms. What about you?
Yeah, for me, first of all, I might actually, this is going to be an interesting take for some listeners. I actually was surprised to see Fernando Tatis get the first team spot. I thought Trey Turner would. I think Trey Turner defensively is just a little more steady Eddie. Fernando Tatis is going to make more plays, but Trey Turner is, like I said, very steady Eddie, going to make the correct throw 99.9% of the time. Tatis, sometimes I love it. There are a lot of times where he makes an absolutely incredible play, but there are also times where you just kind of wished he was a little more conservative. It's okay. You take the good with the bad. But I was surprised with that. Also, I really thought, and this is going to sound incredibly biased, I thought Manny Machado should be first team third base. Jose Ramirez had a lower batting average, and we talked about it beforehand. I know I'm like the last person that gives a crap about batting average, but I mean, it's a big difference from Manny Machado, 304, Jose Ramirez, 292. They had very comparable home run and RBI numbers. Jose Ramirez had 10 stolen bases. Machado, to my surprise, had 6 stolen bases. And I think that Machado is a better fielder. Now, we're probably splitting hairs. Obviously, Manny Machado, you're on the second team. You're obviously a top third baseman in the very least, the National League. Going down to the second team, I was very, very surprised to see Corbin Burnes. And this is what happens, I think, when in a shortened season, and also when baseball was going on, you also had the NBA playoffs going on. You had football going on at times, and you also had hockey. And there were a lot of things. So I knew the Brewers weren't great, but I mean, to see Corbin Burnes go 60 innings this year with a 2.11 ERA, go 4-1, obviously make it essentially onto the top 10 list. That's what this list is for the starters. I agree with you with Giolito, especially late in the season. If you want to sit here and say, give me the top 10 starting pitchers this year, I think you'd get a lot of people that would agree that Giolito should be on that list. It's great to see Kenta Maeda and Hyun-Jin Ryu kind of
say F you to the Dodgers.
Yeah, get away from them in a situation where they were almost every offseason or every trade deadline, their name was floated about. And I always shook my head when you're going to need those at the end at some point. Could you imagine? We wouldn't be at game 6. I'll tell you that right now. If they had held on, and I understand you don't have Gratterall if Maeda goes and you don't have Betts. I understand little things like that. But I mean, if they had found a way to keep both these guys, you're not relying on Tony Gonsolin in game 6 to close out the World Series. Instead, you can throw either Kenta Maeda or Hyun-Jin Ryu. And even with Maeda, they had used him in the last couple postseasons as kind of how they use May. And he's done that even better. He's been that kind of, maybe he can start for you. Maybe he can be a bridge for a couple innings. And he has done it better than Dustin May has. Even though
talking about Dustin May, though, I mean, this is his first World Series appearance, if I'm remembering correctly. Those nerves for those that are there for the first time is going to be insane. So I think that's also been contributing to his World Series pitching record right now. Like, he has not done well. But like I said, I think it's just nerves. And I think that's going to be the same thing with all of the Rays. I mean, they've gotten really lucky. Let's just say the Rays have gotten lucky to get to a game 6. They'll get lucky if they get to a game 7. Yeah. I really would love to see them get to a game 7. But, I mean, it's a whole thing of nerves, especially when, like, you don't have any fans to, like, keep the adrenaline going. You don't, well, I mean, you do, but you don't have as much as you would get, and you're not at home like you normally would be. I mean, yeah, Globe Life has, like, 10,000 fans, but that's all you're going to get. Like,
well, and it is
not there in front of your home crowd.
Exactly. And it's I mean, not only neutral site, but it's a spattering of fans. It's almost a spring training, almost I don't want to call them out, but a Marlins or a Tampa Bay Rays game. That's kind of what it is at this point, obviously, not through any fault of no interest, that everybody wants to be in those games. One other thing I was very surprised. Look, Dominic Smith, to make this list, plays a good outfield, obviously on a Mets team that has arguably one of the best pitchers in the last 5 years, the best pitcher in baseball. There's no argument there, but DeGrom took a bit of a step back. For him, it's a step back. He was still a top 5 pitcher, but isn't going to win the Cy Young, I don't believe. But for Dominic Smith to hit 316, once again, I know it's batting average, no one cares, but I do. 10 home runs, 42 RBIs, while playing a good outfield. I was surprised to see that. My question is, would we see Brandon Lau on this list? Would we see Luke Voit on this list? Would we see Dominic Smith on this list if we had played 162 games? I'm not going to answer that, but it's definitely something to think about, because look, everybody, 60 games compared to 160. I'm not going to pretend to know the math of that, but it's less than half. So,
I mean, if you're looking at these stats though, for the second team, he has the second highest slugging percentage of all of them. So I think that might've also contributed, but I probably would say, no, you wouldn't see them, just because, like, the season obviously didn't go how you wanted it to, but you're going to need to give these players some rest at some point, especially with 162 games, even though you'd get more days off compared to this year where they had one every 2 weeks.
Unless you were the Cardinals, but yes.
Cardinals, Marlins, Phillies, unless you were one of those 3 teams.
Yeah. But yeah, so those are your all MLB teams. Some very interesting names on there. And, that's all big hypothetical. Would those guys still have made it? And who knows? I really honestly do think if we are playing another, 120 games, 122 games, or no, I'm sorry, 102 games. Yeah, see, there's my math for you folks right there. 102 games. I do believe Lucas Giolito would have made probably at least the second team in that situation. Moving on to the craziness, folks, that was game 4. Obviously, look, the World Series is going on. We'll have a World Series discussion, but what everybody wants to talk about when it comes to this World Series, what everybody will remember about this World Series, unless something crazy happens either tonight or tomorrow, will be the game 4 disaster, debacle,
final play,
miracle, depending on what side you're on. It is whatever adjective you would like. Now, I'm going to pass it over to Bryanna Winner. She is fired up as a former catcher. She has plenty to talk about, and then I will come in with my opinion. But yeah, Bryanna is ready to roll on this one.
I mean, yeah, we knew that defenses were going to be a huge contribution to this World Series. But as a final play, and that you're 1 out away, Dodgers, I mean, Dave Roberts has made a lot of mistakes this season. I mean, you had, I believe it was Edwin Rios get injured against the Angels, and Roberts leaves him in, and he would have had another run if he did not leave him on, because he would have made it. He would have crossed home before the third out occurred at second. He would have. So Dave Roberts has made a lot of mistakes, and I believe this was definitely one of them. Obviously, his bullpen has not been helpful, including with Jansen. I mean, he's not doing bad. It's his defense that's behind him right now, especially in that game. He was decent in that game. But my dad, my aunt, and I were talking about this, and obviously, I believe it was Chris Taylor in the outfield. Keep your eye on the damn ball. Like, he should have kept his glove down. 2, kept his eye on the ball instead of looking at the runner, no matter what that runner that was on second was going to come home. I think it was first and second.
Yeah, he was worried about Arozarena, who was on first at the time of the hit. I don't think he was ever thinking of ending the game at home plate before.
Either way, he needed to keep his head 100%. Down, look at the ball so that it doesn't come out of your glove, because that would have definitely helped. And Muncy should not have cut it off. That I don't blame on Muncy. That I blame on Will Smith, who is behind the plate. The catcher sees all. Something that I was taught playing softball growing up, as a catcher, you are in charge. You are basically, let's say, the quarterback of this field. You are the one that sees everything. You're the one that controls everything. Obviously, some coaches don't let you have control over pitches. I had some control when it came to my sister. But with this, you're in charge of telling them, hey, you cut 3, cut 2, cut home, don't cut it all. Considering where Taylor was and the arms that these outfielders have, that ball should not have been cut off. If it wasn't cut off, it probably would have gotten home before, obviously, the runner had gotten there. Obviously, yes, he stopped, but it would have been a better chance for him to get it instead of Muncy throwing it off target. Because if you look, Smith had to go a little bit over just to get it, and it ended up coming out of his glove. So yes, Muncy threw a really bad throw, but at the same time, Smith should have said, don't cut it. You should have just let it come to him. It would have gone into extra innings.
Let me ask you this. So, because when I played, and I played catcher rarely, but my when I would play second base, you would move the shortstop on a double, or, left, right. And it was never for us, it was never do not cut. It was just silence. The only time, and this was just us, but the only time you would cut is literally if you heard the word cut.
Yeah.
Because it's the same reason as you don't say, I don't got it. I don't got it. You don't say that because
you just say, let go.
Hear got it and think, oh, he's got it. And just for the same reason when you would say, don't cut. And I've always wondered, now, obviously we've talked about it with the fans, not a ton of noise, but if that was even if it was at Dodger Stadium, now technically it would have been at Tropicana Field, but that would have been, I don't think any chance Will Smith is able to, even if he wants that ball cut, you know what I mean, to make that known. So I was wondering why Muncy even cut it just in the same thing, because I really don't think Will Smith called for a cut.
I mean, Muncy probably thought maybe he would have gotten him stuck in a pickle. But also, I think this is just also a giant case of miscommunication. Will Smith should have just said, no, don't. Get out of the way, move. Because usually the catcher is the person that's lining up your infielders to where the ball is going. Obviously, if it's coming home, you can see the straight path. Let's say first baseman's cutting it off from center field, and then they're going to be on the pitcher's mound to cut it off. They control it. Whoever is at third base, if they're cutting to third, they're controlling the angle that they're getting it from. So in this case, Will Smith would have been telling him, hey, go left. But I don't think he did. I think Muncy was just like, hey, I'll cut it off, get him stuck in a pickle. Again, don't do that unless your catcher tells you to.
It was very, very interesting to me. I watched it, I mean, probably more times than is healthy, but I probably watched it about 20 or 25 times after the fact, just kind of on a loop. And what I saw was, okay, Muncy
was on first.
And Will Smith. Muncy saw Arozarena fall and knew, okay, we got this. Will Smith did not. His clock was ticking going, okay, Randy Arozarena should be here at any moment. I have to get this swipe tag down immediately. Muncy catches the ball. As he turns, you see his eyes kind of meet Arozarena, who I believe is mid somersault or maybe getting back up. And halfway through his throw, I've heard people call it he threw him a cut changeup, but it seemed like the first part of his arm was, oh, I'm going to get this in real quick, and then realization, oh no, I got time. And it was kind of like he was caught in between on the throw. And then conversely, you had Will Smith, who, if he knew the situation, if he knew that Randy Arozarena was still on the floor at that point, Will Smith maybe could have used two hands or gotten his body in front of it, instead of, from what I saw, it was oh my gosh, I have to catch this and swipe in all one fell motion, when really he had 3 or 4 seconds. So for me, it was just, like you said, miscommunication. I don't know if someone needs to yell at Will Smith and go, you got time. But for him, it seemed like he had expected Randy Arozarena to get there at the same time the ball did. Obviously, Arozarena taking that somersault changed things.
I think also Muncy's throw is really off. Mm-hmm. Like in that case, you want it to be on the left side of the plate. Muncy's right, Will's left. So then it's easier for you to go down and swipe it. But it was to the wrong side. And I think that also contributed to Smith losing the ball, because I believe it was out of his glove and he had to go chase it when Zarena made it to the plate.
Let me ask you this. As a former catcher, if that happened to you, would you have expected to make that catch that Will Smith should have made? No matter what the throw was from Mac Muncy, you would have expected to make that catch, right?
And to be fair, a softball backstop's a lot smaller.
Yeah, but I would say, I mean, that's a catch that Will Smith has to make, period. I know it's not a great throw. Will Smith has to make that catch.
I think it was also like where he was angled. Obviously, I would have changed my angle to where the ball was.
Yeah. Well, like you said,
I think Will Smith was
up.
Yeah, I think Smith was facing third, kind of.
Yeah.
And then Muncy threw it toward the dugout in a way. So he wasn't even facing Muncy. You want your catcher to be facing, like you can have your legs one way, but your upper body needs to be faced another, so you're able to get the ball and go down.
Exactly. And
so I think it was miscommunication, but at the same time, Smith should have just said, do not cut this. Get away.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, you got to just throw him out of there. I will say, I don't know if it would have changed things. I still think Arozarena scores, but it would have been maybe a better look. Kenley Jansen, it
may have been an extra innings too. It would have gone into extra innings.
Yeah.
And if they were still doing ITB, Arozarena would have been on second.
They wouldn't have, but yeah.
I'm just saying, we haven't seen an ITB in the playoffs, so you don't know.
No, I do. No, it's not. We have seen extra innings in the playoffs.
Oh, we have?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's just
they don't do the ITB. Luckily, that is hopefully dead, at least for us. Bryanna and her softball, they'll have to deal with that for a little bit longer. But you brought up Dave Roberts, and obviously Dave Roberts has a history of either leaving players in too long or pulling them out too early. I go back to last year, Clayton Kershaw, they left him in, I believe, either the 6th or 7th inning. I think he gave up back-to-back home runs to Juan Soto in game 5 of the NLDS. And we all know what happened then. This game, 3 specific just blunders in a span of about 4 innings. First, pulling Julio Urias at 4 2/3 with 9 strikeouts. I understand. I believe it was Arozarena who was coming up, who's a right-hander, and Urias is a lefty. I understand the righty versus lefty splits. I understand, but 9 strikeouts in 4 2/3 for a guy who has been pretty much lights out the entire postseason. I really thought that was a mistake for Dave Roberts. And he doubled down on that by his Pedro Baez. Pedro Baez gives up the 3-run home run to go down 5-4. The Dodgers go down 5-4. And in my mind, I would have been, okay, Roberts has to go get him now. Roberts sticks with him for a whole nother inning. For me, in my mind, that told me that Dave Roberts didn't want to use any big bullpen arms. He was ready to lose game 4. It blew my mind. Now, obviously, the bats bailed out Pedro Baez and Dave Roberts. But one final mistake, I believe. Bruce Gratterall, I'm not a fan. I do not like the guy, but that guy was throwing 100 mile an hour with nasty movement on it. in the bottom of the eighth, or was it bottom? Yeah, bottom of the eighth, and you go to Kenley Jansen. For me, run Gratterall out there. And if he struggles, at least you have Jansen to come in and maybe clean up the mess. But Brusdar Gratterall was pitching very well, and we all know Kenley Jansen's history. And there you go. And I look at Kenley Jansen. Okay, look, he didn't back up home plate. Like I said, I don't think it would have mattered too much. But my biggest thing is, look, Brett Phillips should not have ever been at bat. That was Kevin Cash's worst nightmare. If you would have told Kevin Cash, Brett Phillips is going to be up, and he has to get a hit for you guys to win, Kevin Cash would again, so we're going to be down 3-1, huh? And it's just the way it is. I think even Brett Phillips probably thought that. Kenley Jansen doesn't put him away. He's got him 1-2. He throws a pitch that's just too much of the plate. You got to work off the plate with the stuff that Jansen has. So there's so much blame to go around, but for me, I honestly put it square on Dave Roberts. I understand if Will Smith catches that ball, we're not really talking about it, but Dave Roberts put them in that situation with pulling Urias, leaving Baez in, and not sticking with Gratterall, in my opinion.
I mean, like I said, loyalty. Yeah. He's got loyalty to Jansen, even though no matter what, this guy is choked. Like every year, Jansen has basically choked. It would not surprise me if they lose tonight's game because of Jansen. At least he was throwing decent in that game, in that inning. It was his defense that failed him. Yes, either way, it would have been a tie game. But his defense was the one that failed him with that last run coming in. So the blame should not squarely be on Jansen at this point. It should be obviously Taylor for not looking at the ball, Muncy for even thinking that he could cut off the damn ball, and Smith for not telling him, do not cut this. I've got this. He's close enough. Like, if you're like where Taylor was, you wouldn't need a cut. The catcher also needs to look at how far away how far back the outfielders are in the grass. If they are shallow, you don't need a cut. If they are like really deep and they do not have the greatest of arms, like obviously Mike Trout, then you need a cut. Like playing softball when my sister was in the outfield and not pitching, I knew her arm. I knew that even like in the middle of the outfield, she could get it to me on one bounce. Nobody needed to cut. Will Smith should know what his teammates' arms are like at this point. Yeah. I mean, you've been playing with them all damn year. Yeah. You should know their strength. And if it's not their arm, then yes, get a cut. But if their arm is their strength, let them rip, let them come. Do not let the cut come. And Muncy should have just backed away.
You know, what's funny is I think one guy who really got bailed out in all of this is, and I don't know his name, but the Tampa Bay Rays third base coach. It was the worst send of all time. If you go back and you actually, when Chris Taylor has possession of the ball fully and is getting ready to come, Arozarena is still a step and a half away from third base. And I looked and I was like, there is no way, because I did see in the replay the entire bench like saying, go, go, go. But of course, that's what the third base coach is there for. He's supposed to be the non-emotional one. I looked it up. No, he's sending him just as much. So he is the one that really, because I mean, if somehow, some way, the Rays would have lost that game and they go back and go, what the hell are you doing sending him here? And obviously, look, what happened the other night, we would be talking post World Series. That's not the case. And really, it's a crazy situation when the guy who makes the original error is kind of the forgotten guy. Now, I know you brought up Chris Taylor, and I'm glad you did, but really in all of this
was the original.
Yeah, I mean, well, and for me, it's one of those, he was so far away from everything, even though he started it all. But you're right. You have to keep your eye on the ball. He was immediately thinking, I have to keep Arozarena at second. He did not want the tying run or the go ahead, or at that point, the winning run to get to third base. Now that's the irony of the situation. You stop the guy from going to third, and that action essentially cost you the game. But that is baseball. And my goodness, game 4, one for the ages. Like I said, unless something absolutely madness happens tonight or tomorrow, which I'm all for, I'm cool with that. That game was what this series will be remembered for. What a fantastic game.
I think if we go to game 7 and the Rays win, they're going to be looking at game 4.
Oh, 100. This will be the
obviously Rays fans will be overjoyed because it's their first World Series win ever. And I'm in the history of this program, plus obviously only their second time appearing. But game 4 was what's really kind of what shifted the momentum into game 5, where like, look, the Dodgers need to win this game. They're not giving it up this time. And I think the Rays are coming for blood this time because they're like, okay, this could possibly be the last game. We're going to put our all out there. We need to win this game. And I really hope they do win this game because I want to see a game 7. So it's going to be Snell versus Gonsolin.
Gonsolin, yeah. Essentially a bullpen day. I would expect if they can get 4 out of Gonsolin, I think they'll be very happy. I think the Rays need to come out tonight. Now they're the away team or the visiting team. They'll be batting first. Like I said, I won't be watching it, but I'll be cheering from afar for the Rays. I really do think in the first 3 innings, they have to have 4 or 5 runs. You cannot be in a situation where it's 1-0 or 2-1 going into the 6th or 7th inning, whether you're ahead or behind. I don't care if you're up 2-1 or even if you're up 2-0. For me, we will see the Dodgers turn a corner. This is a team that in a split second, there's only one guy who made the All-MLB 1 or 2 team, but any of these guys in this lineup at any time can swing and turn on one. So very, very interesting stuff there. I love Bryanna just reminded me of something that we saw. I think it was game 4. Was it game 4?
I don't know, but you saw it, and then yes. I didn't see it until the close-up.
Yeah, it was, and I'm sure most of you have all seen it. It was on the Fox telecast of the, the World Series. Like I said, it might have been game 4, but either way, it was one of the games, and it was a line drive down the right field line. It was a foul ball.
I think it was game 3.
Sorry?
I think it was game 3. I think it was game 3 because it was prior, because I'm looking back at our texts.
Got it. Okay, perfect. Yeah, see, that's how we but a foul ball down into the right field, concourse, and guy goes and picks it up, and obviously a Dodger fan with a Joe Kelly shirt. Yeah, the pouty Joe Kelly shirt the pouty Joe Kelly face and pose on the front, and on the back, you love it with the nice swing, bitch, which was just absolutely beautiful. And I'm sure Fox probably was like, oh, they weren't a huge fan, and maybe I'm sure the FCC might have had something to say about that. But anyways, very, very funny and great to see. At
least some fun coming out of this.
Yeah, already. That was why I understand that was 2 months ago, and everybody has.
I'm just going to say this for next year. Can the whole league, anytime they're playing the Astros, just wear the Joe Kelly shirt? Or do something like the A's did? Or at least get an A shirt, please.
I think the year that they kept us away from booing and going crazy on the Astros is only going to make us more fervent. I know there's a lot of announcers that think, oh, next year, excuse me, they'll go back to just being the Astros and everyone will forget about it. Nope. They kept us away, and we are going to make them heard. Even the Dodger fans up there on the corner who were having a lot of fun.
And if Trevor Bauer ends up coming to the West, it's going to be fun.
Oh my goodness. I can't wait. And I'll take it a step further. Now, this will be kind of counterintuitive, but if Trevor Bauer can come to a National League West team and then actually bat, because there have been talk that the National League is not 100% going to just take the universal DH next year in a 162 game season. So if they do bring the pitchers batting back, I would love to see how Trevor Bauer is pitched to against the Astros with everything that's been going on. That would be,
I just want to see the cleats.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I think in that day, the first day that he would be able to play the Astros, he wouldn't tweet anything out. He wouldn't do anything. Maybe it's a spring training game. He'd go out with the cleats for a pitch or two. MLB would call the umpires, and the umpires were like, hey, you got to go. He's like, that's fine. I did what I needed to do. I made my statement. But I think all of us hope that the American League West is where Trevor Bauer goes. Obviously not the Astros.
He's not going to be the Astros.
He said, he goes, hey, if the money's right, I'll go there. And
don't.
I doubt it, but Wow, you want to talk about going full heel? That would be Trevor Bauer going to the Astros. So now I have to ask you, I feel like you've kind of alluded to it, but the $1 million question, well, actually the $500,000 question. And if the answer is yes, then you would have to answer the $1 million question, but we'll get to that. But the first one.
Game 7, yes.
Okay, so you do expect the Rays to win tonight?
Yeah. I mean, Gonsolin has not done well in the World Series, like against the Rays. He has not done well. Obviously, yes, they wanted to make it to 4. I don't think he's going to make it to 4. Snell, I mean, he did relatively well when they played when he was starting, but I think the Rays are going to be like, okay, it's do or die time. We need to like do something. And considering how this entire series has gone, it's been every other that these teams have won. Like Dodgers won game 1, Rays game 2, Dodgers 3, Rays 4, Dodgers 5. So I think it's just going to keep going in this pattern until 7, and then I really want the Rays to win, but I don't think it's going to happen. I just really want the Rays to win. I do not want the Dodgers to win.
I like that. I agree with you. I think the Rays win tonight. I think they exhaust everything. Now the question is, for me, can Blake Snell give them 6 innings? If Blake Snell can give them 6 innings, oh boy, game 7 it's on now. But if
you were the one saying it was going to go 6.
Yeah, you're right. 6. You are. Yeah, I did say I believe Dodgers said 6.
Last week I said 7.
I'm wrong. But for looking ahead to tomorrow and the way the Rays really build up, their bullpen needs a breath. Snell can't go only 3 innings. If Snell goes 3 innings, I don't care what happens tonight. The Rays are not winning game 7. So I look for Blake Snell to go 6 or 7 really strong innings. The Rays to get on top early because they know this high-powered offense. If you get on top of them early, maybe it demoralizes them a little bit. You have to get on them early, get on Gonsolin, get on, I would assume Victor Gonzalez. Maybe we might see Urias again, although I think they save him for game 7, but
Buehler.
Yeah, Buehler will be 7. I think everyone will be available in game 7. I think they'll want Urias.
The Rays have not decided yet. If they haven't decided.
They're hoping
waiting until they win.
They get to decide. Believe me, they want the decision. And in that point, they might just throw old Joe Madden out there. No, I'm just kidding. But a situation where I think Blake Snell goes 6, 7 really strong innings, gives the bullpen a breather. And look, if you can be up 8-2 or something like that to the point where you don't even need to go to your A bullpen, you can kind of pull out a Curtis or someone like that to get the final 6 outs. That would be absolutely amazing. But if the Rays do have to go deep into their bullpen, no matter what happens tonight, tomorrow they will lose. But if Snell gets the job done tonight, goes 6 or 7 innings, and I know I'm putting a hell of a caveat on this, but if he goes 6 or 7 innings and the Rays win and don't need to go through their bullpen, not only do I like the Rays tonight, I like them in game 7 as well. The Dodgers are choke artists. And until they swallow their food like a big boy, I am not going to give them peanut brittle. So at this moment, I am expecting the Rays, I expect the Rays to win tonight no matter what, but in which manner they do it, that's how I'll determine who wins tomorrow. But like I said, if Snell goes out, dominates in 6 or 7 innings, gives the bullpen a rest, I love the Rays tomorrow to give Walker Buehler his worst playoff start of his career. Because if we do go game 7, all you're going to hear about tomorrow is Walker Buehler's record in elimination games. And believe me, it's really good. It's actually scary, but all good things must come to an end. And like I said, I think we could be talking about the same way we talked about the Red Sox for so long, not getting it done. And one of the main things was the Bill Buckner game. I think for the Dodgers not getting it done, game 4 of the 2020 World Series will be their Bill Buckner game. I just do. And I can't wait to hopefully come back next Tuesday, and I'll just put Bryanna on mute and just scream, "I told you so" for an hour into this microphone. But anyways, you do think we're going to go 7. I think you said you were alluding to it. I think you said you'd probably pick the Dodgers, but why don't you go on record now?
I really hate that I'm saying this, but I think the Dodgers are going to win in 7.
Yeah.
I hate myself for saying it, but I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I really do expect this series to go 7. I think the Rays keep it going, but if they have to go through all their resources, they're just delaying the inevitable. But wow, really, really excited. Well, I mean, hopefully to see the score. Like I said, I'm not going to watch the game. I'm a weirdo like that. Won't worry about that. But hopefully by about 9:00, I'll get the good news and get ready for the 2 greatest words in all of sports, Game 7, especially in a championship. All or nothing. That's hopefully a dream, and hopefully, you'll see a lot of crying Dodger fans when it's all said and done. That is mostly
my family.
Hope. Well, I haven't met your family. I've talked to a couple of your family members. I hope that they're okay.
These are ones you haven't met.
Sorry?
These are ones you haven't met.
Okay, then I'm okay saying ha. No big deal. I haven't.
These are all cousins. You're good.
Oh yeah, all cousins and all that. No, we're good. But final thoughts as we. This will be the last Changeup of the year where we are where there will be a baseball game after the episode. So it's been a lot of fun, and we're not going anywhere. We're going to be with you every Tuesday throughout the off season. Before you know it, it'll be March and April, and we'll be talking spring training. But final thoughts for essentially the season the playing season finale.
Dodgers or Dave Roberts, if you were listening, heed my words from Game 4. Don't do that ever again. I think everybody would love if you never do that again, because that is definitely not a major league play. That is definitely not something major leaguers should do. Don't do it again.
Fantastic teamwork, though, because I think all the guys looked and said, wow, Chris Taylor literally dropped the ball. He messed up. Hey, how about every other person who gets near the ball? Let's all make a mistake as well. So then we all get blamed as well. Just as well.
I blame Muncy the most.
Yeah.
I blame Muncy the most.
For me, honestly, I'm old school. I blame Dave Roberts the most.
That too.
I think the situation that was put in was because of Dave Roberts. But yeah, and the people that touched the ball on that play, Muncy, and honestly, Will Smith too. I mean, you're literally, it's in your name. It's in your position. Catch. You have to make that catch. And like I said, I know Muncy didn't make it easy on you, but you have to make that catch.
The catcher is the captain on the field. You make the calls. You should have, even if Muncy didn't just listen to you, you should have just said, don't.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it was Muncy just not even paying attention, not listening. So I would not count that as Will Smith's fault. But dude, you got to catch the damn ball.
And I mean, I'm even thinking with Will Smith, because he plays with the old mask where you have the backwards helmet and then the mask that goes over this. I'm just wondering if maybe he did a little frisbee to with the top part of the face part of his mask, just hit Max Muncy in the back of your head with the mask, and then he's on the ground writhing in pain, and the ball just neatly, and then the Dodgers have won a World Series. But luckily that didn't happen, and we hopefully get to see a Game 7. That is what I'm hoping for, and I'm sure most of you are as well, like I said, unless you're Dodger fans or you had money on them, which either way, shame on you. But thank you all so much for listening to another episode here of the Changeup. Thank you again to Bryanna Winner, who always brings so much to the pod. And it's really, really going to be an exciting time heading into the off season. We will have plenty of stuff to talk about,
especially where Trevor Bauer is going.
Yeah, so that will be a speculation, or
at least I hope
a storyline. Hopefully, all off season. Hopefully he's not decided right away. I would tell you what, if he in a week, if he announces he signed a 5-year extension with the Reds, that would be the most anticlimactic thing in the history of baseball. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Follow his Twitter.
Oh yeah.
You will get a lot of fun.
You need to do that right now.
You will have a lot of fun.
Yes. And while you're at it, make sure you like and subscribe to us here, however you're listening or watching this. Once again, thank you all so much. For Bryanna Winner, my name is Brandon Ferst, aka Ferst Report, for the Changeup. Now go wash your hands, everybody. Stop hating and take care. Have a great day.